That hood scoop isn't for show. Chevy engineered it into the body structure, and what it feeds is the reason this Silverado fundamentally changes the full-size performance truck conversation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this Silverado wide-body configuration isn't just Chevy's answer to the Raptor R. It's the truck that forces Ford to defend territory it thought it owned outright. There's one interior decision in this truck that no buyer walking into a Chevy dealership has ever encountered at the factory level in this segment. I'll get there. Is this wide-body Silverado actually worth the premium over a standard ZR2? My answer depends entirely on how you use your truck, and the breakdown is going to be more specific than you're expecting. We're covering the cabin, the exterior engineering, and the powertrain, and the backstory of why this particular configuration was approved. That didn't begin in a product planning spreadsheet. Here's what matters most. And it's not the wide-body flares, and it's not the winch, it's the hood scoop. A functional ram air scoop on a production full-size truck is a significant engineering commitment, not a visual accessory. The scoop feeds pressurized air directly to the intercooler under load, reducing charge air temperature and allowing the turbocharged engine to maintain boost pressure consistency on sustained climbs and hard acceleration runs. The critical detail: at high ambient temperatures, desert summer, sustained towing grades, intercooler efficiency directly determines how long the engine can hold its rated output. A heat-soaked intercooler means pulled timing and reduced power. This scoop addresses that problem structurally. No factory F-150 Raptor R runs a hood scoop. The Ram 1500 TRX doesn't either. Speculative tech number 1, an active scoop baffle system. An electronically actuated internal valve that opens fully in performance and off-road modes, directing full ram air to the intercooler, and partially closes at highway cruise, reducing aerodynamic drag when thermal management isn't the priority. The engineering logic is straightforward. A static open scoop creates unnecessary drag above 65 miles per hour. Active management recovers that efficiency without sacrificing peak thermal capacity. The hood scoop signals the performance intent. The cabin tells you something else entirely about where Chevy took this brief. Step inside, and the first thing that genuinely stops you is the leather. Full cognac, saddle tan throughout. Door panels, armrests, seat faces, console surround in a truck wearing bolted fender flares and 35-inch all-terrain tires. That contrast is deliberate. What stands out to me is the quality of the hide itself. Fully perforated center panels, smooth bolster sections, consistent grain across every visible surface. This isn't a leather package thrown on top of a work truck architecture. The door panel alone, with that broad padded armrest section and the premium speaker housing, carries material quality that competes with a loaded Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn at a significantly higher price point. The center console runs a rotary gear selector rather than a conventional shifter, freeing up the entire console face for a wide, flat storage surface and a deep bin beneath. Physical climate controls with illuminated dual-zone rotary dials sit below the touchscreen, not integrated into it. That decision gets underappreciated. For anyone who's tried to adjust cabin temperature on a cold morning while wearing gloves in a truck that buried everything in a touchscreen menu, retaining physical HVAC controls is the ergonomically correct call. Every other manufacturer chasing minimalism is walking this back. Chevy kept it from the start. Speculative tech number 2, an integrated brake cooling architecture built into the wide-body flare structure itself. Dedicated air channels molded into the inner face of each front flare capture ram air at speed and direct it toward the front rotor face. Engineering reasoning: the wider track that necessitates the flares increases the lateral load moment on the front brakes under cornering. More lateral load means more heat generation per braking event. The flare geometry that accommodates the wider track can simultaneously solve the thermal management problem it created. Where I think they've missed the mark: the vertical touchscreen orientation. A portrait format screen requires significant eye travel from top to bottom, which increases the time your eyes leave the road compared to a landscape format display. For a truck marketed around performance driving, that's the wrong ergonomic trade-off. The Ram 1500's horizontal U-connect layout handles this better. The interior makes a clear statement about buyer expectations, but the piece of this truck's origin story that explains why the widebody went into production at all, that's what the exterior section delivers. Here's what I'm hearing. This wide-body configuration reportedly originated as a direct competitive response brief after Ford's Raptor R outsold GM's combined ZR2 allocation in its launch year. The brief wasn't "build something cool." It was "build something that wins back the buyer who chose a Raptor." The exterior is where that competitive intent is most visible. Start at the front. That bumper is a full replacement skid plate unit, not a fascia overlay. The winch mount is integrated into the bumper's primary steel structure, meaning recovery pulls load through the frame rail, not through a bracket welded to sheet metal. The dual LED cube fog lights are positioned below the approach angle geometry, meaning they illuminate terrain directly in front of the bumper in the darkest part of the approach shadow. That placement is operationally useful, not decorative. The bolted fender flares are wider than ZR2 standard, accommodating a track that runs approximately 4 inches wider per side than the base Silverado crew cab. Overall length sits around 232 inches on the short bed crew configuration. Ground clearance with the suspension lift measures approximately 11.5 inches. The functional hood scoop adds approximately 3 inches to overall hood height, which improves the forward sightline on steep approach angles, an actual off-road benefit that looks aggressive as a side effect. This design holds because the functional components, the structural bumper, the bolted flares, the scoop geometry, are load path decisions. They don't disappear in a refresh cycle. But structural architecture means nothing without the powertrain to justify it. Engine. The 6.2-liter Ecotec 3 V8 in this configuration. 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque through a 10-speed automatic. With the active scoop feeding a cooler intercooler, sustained output consistency improves noticeably on back-to-back hard runs compared to a standard ZR2 in equivalent conditions. That matters if you're running desert runs where a standard ZR2 starts pulling timing after the third or fourth aggressive climb. Speculative tech number 3. Predictive terrain transition control. Forward-facing cameras identify surface changes, pavement to gravel, packed dirt to loose sand, up to 15 feet ahead, and pre-select throttle mapping, transfer case engagement, and differential lock state before the front axle contacts the new surface. Standard terrain systems react after the wheels have already lost traction. This system closes the transition gap entirely. For anyone who's run a Raptor R through a mixed surface trail section, you know that half second where the truck catches up to where the terrain already went. This eliminates it. Against the F-150 Raptor R at 720 horsepower, the peak output gap is real and significant. But the Raptor R's supercharged V8 runs hotter under sustained load, and it doesn't have active scoop cooling. On extended desert runs, the thermal management gap narrows that horsepower advantage more than the spec sheet suggests. The engineering case is complete. The financial case needs to hold up alongside it. Now here's what I actually think. Completely straightforward. The competitive response origin explains everything. The wide body, the scoop, the premium interior. Chevy wasn't trying to build a better ZR2, they were trying to build the truck that makes the Raptor R buyer hesitate. Whether they've succeeded depends entirely on what that buyer actually values. Pricing. Expect the wide-body configuration to land between $72,000 and $84,000 depending on powertrain and package selection. Real-world context. A loaded F-150 Raptor R runs $82,000 to $95,000 and delivers 300 more horsepower, but no hood scoop throttle management, no wide-body integrated flare cooling architecture, and a cabin that doesn't carry this level of leather specification at any equivalent price point. A standard Silverado ZR2 at $68,000 gives you the same DSSV suspension and most of the off-road capability for significantly less money. On depreciation, factory wide-body configurations with genuine mechanical differentiation have historically held residual value better than standard trims. If you're trading in a current ZR2 or an F-150 Raptor and planning a 5-year hold, the premium on this configuration is recoverable at resale in a way that an aftermarket lift and flare kit never is. Factory accountability for every component matters when it's time to sell. Here's the call. If you use your truck on sustained high-heat terrain, want factory coverage on every performance modification, and value a cabin that matches the exterior specification level, this is the most coherent, integrated package in the full-size performance truck segment right now. If peak horsepower and maximum bragging rights are your primary metrics, the Raptor R earns you more of both for comparable money. The wide-body Silverado earns its premium through thermal discipline and material coherence, not through displacement. At the open, I said that hood scoop feeds something important. Having walked the full picture, it feeds a truck that was engineered to compete where engineering actually matters, not just where horsepower numbers are measured on a dyno sheet. I genuinely love your perspective, especially if you've owned a ZR2 or put real miles on a Raptor R in comparable conditions. Drop your experience below. Wide-body Silverado versus the Ford F-150 Raptor R? That head-to-head is next. Subscribe if this kind of analysis is what you're here for. See you then.